have today accepted the request by Professor George Saitoti to step aside for his responsibilities as a Minister for Education, Science and Technology in order to pave the way for investigations into the issues raised in the report of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into the Goldenberg affair. I have further accepted the request by Honorable Kiraitu Murungi to step aside from his responsibilities as the Minister for Energy in order to allow full investigations into allegations made against him in regard to the Anglo-Leasing affair. I urge all Kenyans to exercise patience as the relevant arms of the law carry out investigations into these issues.
All right, that is a journey back in history, 2006, according to the newsroom there, where the country was in the same predicament that we are in today, where we have all the cabinet secretaries dismissed, as we can see it right now, and we have the prime cabinet secretary who is presiding over all those dockets. Only the wearer knows where the shoe pinches. And the debate has been rife on social media, whether some familiar faces, I should say, should come back. And this is where we want to continue pace with the crowd. Dr. Isaac Kalua Green, I just wanted you to comment. I don't know if you've lost your track of thought. You had something to say before you took a short break, before we turn into the legality of some familiar faces coming back and what that the Constitution says.
Thank you. I was very focused on what you asked us to look at earlier on. And this is the issue of the picture, getting out of the frame to see what is it that we are dealing with when we are inside the picture. And it was a very apt issue that you raised, being in the picture, in the frame and outside of the frame. And I imagined one time I saw the ugliest picture in the world. And it was of a human face with a lot of punctuations, a lot of pimples, growth, and all this. It was really ugly. And I imagined while you were speaking, what is the picture and what does the current team of leaders need to come out and see? And what they will see is that picture. And it is, God gives us an opportunity to see some of these things while we are alive. The picture they would see, as I enumerated earlier on, Debal, is a picture of 50 to 60 years leaders leading 19.6 years old. It's good leadership, it's fine. The only thing is that you cannot connect. However much you try to understand what a 19-year-old is saying when you are at 60, when you're calling them to even the list, please take notes, and the young Gen Z appears with a phone, you first of all get extremely annoyed. I expect you to come with a pen and I want you to take notes, but I am taking notes on my phone. To you, a phone means communication, it's for idlers, it is for people, so you're just simply not connecting. And that is what leaders need to come out and see what exactly is happening. Upon seeing that, and this is to, and I speak this with a lot of respect to my president. I have enumerated and said where he stands, President Ruto, today, naturally, he has 25% of Kenyans that are somewhere, either relatives or people that he educated, a road that he did somewhere, that people actually connect with him. It is him with the God-given responsibility and wisdom to say, okay, I have 3 other categories of Kenyans. How can I reach out to them directly? The first one is to approach the 25% of those who are self-seekers, those who say, Kalenjins have had a president, the Kikuyus have had a president, it is our time. He can actually become their president by approach, deliberate and strategically so, that he can sit with them, he can dine with them, he can show them that he cares about them. The second group that is very interesting are those who are legitimacy challengers. There are 30% in Kenya. Go out to them. Guys, tuwachane na ile ambayo ilitokea. What were you looking for? You will get a number from them. The third one is the most important and passes and cuts across. These are people who simply want something good done for Kenya, period. We want opportunities, we want jobs, and we actually don't want you to dish out the jobs. We want you to create a system that is going to give us opportunities to do what we need to do, because people are educated over time, and they know what they need to do. You have said how leaders must engage in dialogue and all that. I have always wanted to challenge dialogue.
I was questioning if they should.
Yes, or if they should, just as you quoted somebody.
Yes.
And I say that I have realized over time that what we need is engagement. People need to be engaged. Engage is in between dialogue, conversation, everything. We just need to connect in one. What do you mean? Because we now have the 4 types that I'm talking about in Kenya. Actually, when you're receiving advice from anyone, by the time they mention the 4th sentence, you already know which category they belong to. Somehow, if it is advice, choose to listen from all sides and then be able to understand what is on the ground. And how do you do that? I have derived an abbreviation called ICE, and I believe this is what we need in Kenya. ICE stands for, an acronym, ICE, which is innovation. We need to be innovative. What are the issues that are eating us as Kenyans? Let us outline them here. What is there? Is it corruption? Is it poor distribution of resources across the country? What are the issues? All those. Is it bad leadership? Then upon doing that, you get to the second point of it, which is collaboration. So innovation, collaboration. You need to collaborate with other people. How do we deal with improving the economy? How can we be able, there are many things that in this country have gone wrong. I'll give you the list of what no one expects. Kenyans can be able to go out there and put a beehive where honey is made. Honey is produced and you can sell and export. This country has got, and that Africa at large, has got a capacity to sell honey and change livelihoods across the country. Go back to the standards of this country. Go to KEBS and ask for honey standards in Kenya. The Bali will be surprised that honey has got the authority, the standards allow addition of sugar in the honey. We are killing our own people. The Kenyan standards for honey allow inclusion of sugar in the God-made sweetness. What does that do? The export of honey that Kenyans would have made to go out there is competed by importation of honey that has been added sugar because the standards allow. And we are just scratching the surface of things that are wrong in this country. And they're not about Ruto. It is a long time historical challenge. If I go to standards, even vehicles that we are importing in this country, which is a space that I am in, you'll be shocked. You'll be shocked. extremely short. And therefore, there are many things that are going wrong. So we are talking of innovation, we are talking of collaboration. When you collaborate with everyone else, then you go to the third word, which is empowerment. Innovation, collaboration, and empowerment. Kenyans need to be empowered. The Gen Zs, the Gen Xs, the Gen Ys, all these people just need order for them to make money, for them to earn their livelihoods, for them to get the best that they can. But who is going to do that if political leaders are fighting on a podium? Who is going to get that done if we have not sat together innovatively? Because some of the challenges that we have in this country, they are very small and they can be sorted on a very... If today there was a new standard on honey production in Kenya that allows or removes sugar from the honey, you would stop any honey being imported because it doesn't meet Kenyan standard. It's got to be natural, it's got a green standard, and therefore it won't be allowed. If today we have vehicles that are imported in this country, 6,500 or thereabout, 60% of those vehicles have odometer changed. 60% of the vehicles that we are driving in Kenya today, they have the catalytic converter removed. One small change, just to include in the standards of Kenya today in these issues. Number one, 99.9% of vehicles that come from Japan, where we import most of the vehicles, they come from auction houses. If the standards in Kenya today say that there must be an attachment of a certificate from the auction house in Japan, which has everything, every history about the car, the 60% will be done. People will be driving better cars. People will not have to pay more money for spare parts, because that has been taken on by just one inclusion of a document that has been deliberately excluded. If today, I finish with this, if today we say that every vehicle that is coming to Kenya must have an authentic odometer certificate from Japan, 60% of people who will be driving cars in Kenya would not have this. And I'm only giving one of the very many things that we need to correct. So our country is far, and we need to start dealing with these issues strategically. And it is the application of ICE that can be able to take us to the next level.
All right, we are on the course of course correcting, our true north, so that we can move forward as a country. This is a monumental time for us. Barak, I just wanted to come to you and ask, because you've been part and you've worked with Raila Odinga before, and where we are at, it's not a different kettle of fish of where he has been before. But is it a doorway now to his political obscurity in light of what is happening right now? Because the paradigm has completely shifted as far as politics of me and my community and my block, or even the personality politics that we are breaking away from.
First, allow me to say something about this generational thing, because it keeps coming up time and again. And I think that one of the dangers we risk getting into is that of ageism. That there is discrimination against persons based on age. And I'm conscious of the fact that I'm the oldest person in the room. Yeah, absolutely. I'm the oldest person in the room. My younger brother, Kirwa here, who was of course born in September 1959.
57.
59. But if you want it to be 57 now, let it be 57. So that we are almost age mates, with Kirwa aging me out by a couple of months, but we are older people in the room, and therefore, as they say, when dry bones are mentioned, the aged get restless. God, who has decided that we must also be around, has got a good reason. And part of that reason is that we bring institutional memory to the discourse, without which we may not also know how we have got where we are, and therefore we cannot properly define where we want to go. So this thing of saying that older persons, technology, I am here with my gadgets, and you can see that I am writing on an electronic book using an electronic pen.
Your stylus,
yeah, a lot of which other people may not know about. And it was, of course, bequeathed to me by none other than my friend and brother, Dr. Green. You want to say you didn't give it to me? Okay, if you want to say, then let it be that. You didn't give it to me. He
doesn't want his benevolence to be exposed.
He didn't give it to me with intent. But we want to point out that there have been good older leaders in recent world history. Let's not go even into ancient spaces. And I've just scribbled down a few names. Winston Churchill, Nelson Mandela, Charles de Gaulle, Mahatma Gandhi, George Washington, F.D. Roosevelt. These were people who stood out, and they did sterling jobs during their own day and time. And I would imagine that Raila Odinga falls in the category of older persons and people who have done a good job in this country. Of course, in 2022, I did not quite believe that he was the right person. There are those who believed that he was the right person, and they had their good reasons. And the main reason why I didn't think he was the right person was this joining thing, that whenever there's a formation there in government, you get there and join. And that starts tampering with his good credentials that he has developed over time. And if I was wrong, I console myself with the knowledge that now there are even within ODM persons like James Orengo, who are saying that the only person who is going to benefit from this whole arrangement is William Ruto, because Raila Odinga and ODM now go into that space as the rescue squad. They are the red, what are they called, the fire brigade that is getting into the government space to rescue, to redeem President William Ruto at a point where he's increasingly isolated himself. And this isolation is a factor of what I have said, ruling not through the instruments of state and instruments of law and order, but ruling through the instruments of informal government. And to the extent that those instruments of informal government continue to be the ones that are going to be guiding him, that are even the ones that are going to be contributing to the thought of who should join the cabinet, the challenges that he has had as president will continue to be there. The president will not be listening to the so-called clean people, the blameless ones that he's going to appoint. Those ones are a facade. It's just a window dressing. The real government is an invisible government around the president. And so if Raila Odinga gets into that space, he's either going to engage in perpetual conflict and sometimes public displays of anger against President William Ruto and the dark state around him, rather than helping the country to go where it wants to go. But for the rest of us out here, the perceptions and optics will be that he's part of that skunked space. And hence, when the time comes to cast all of them into the river Nile so that they are swept into the delta in Cairo and into the Mediterranean Sea, he will be part of it.
In less than a minute.
No.
Less than a minute. Just a minute for this. Just one little one.
You need to speak with the professor.
Yes, just less than a minute. Thank you for your permission.
Sure.
What I wanted my brother Luca to understand, my statement on age bracket does not exclude the older people. It is a balance, just as earlier stated. Actually, you're part of 19. You're part of 19.6.
We older people.
Mean age.
And we
that doesn't mean you are not doing good. So it is a mixture of those who are doing good in their age. In the 4 houses that I stated earlier, there remains good governance all across, from the older people and all that. So it's not an exclusion by age.
We have a lot of...
It is inclusion by ideas.
A lot of intellectual premium to add.
What Daktari has said,
a lot of institutional memory.
Daktari.
Yes, please.
Maybe when you were in, you used to go up to standard 7. I don't know whether you went to Cape standard 8. A long time
when I joined Standard 1, Cape was there, but they removed it
before you did the exam.
67. But you were not born. For me, it was before I did the exam. I was in school before I did the exam, but you were not born.
I was only trying to say we are not far from that age bracket. Because if you are in maybe standard 6, maybe I could be in standard 2 or 3.
No, Professor, you are not born.
Sure, yeah.
No, you are not born.
All right. Professor, carry on. So
that's let me carry on.
Okay.
I know my age.
Okay, you are born.
Okay,
if you want to have
and again, if you want to approve my age, you can approve.
If you want to have been born,
yes, approved my age.
If you want to have been born, then be have been born.
We would be in the same school with the same headmaster. We used to call them headmaster.
Yes.
So anyway.
Now I accept you are born.
Yeah, thank you. Diban, what is affecting Kenyans is that the issue of economy particularly. And I think that's where the Gen Zs have been so much affected. And then that has exploded and has led to this, the what do you call it? The cabinet. They were not sacked.
They were dismissed.
They were dismissed. I keep forgetting that word. Yeah, they were dismissed from those positions, and now they want to have a new cabinet. I think here, I used 2 words this morning about people who are pessimistic, and they say, well, even if the new cabinet is appointed, it will be a window dressing. I think that's being too pessimistic. You know, you don't think that things can work. Let's be on the side of people who are optimistic. They hope
the dark state will go,
that things will work better as we go forward. Because if we keep looking at the back and backwards and then say, oh, this happened during the time of Churchill, this happened during the time of Mandela, and all, those people are gone. It's good to learn good lessons in history, but it's also good. It's also good to contextualize it to the current situation, the contemporary situation. So where we are as Kenya, the people have been complaining of business, not me, but that's what the GCs are saying. The businesses are not working. That's what they are saying. And it could be a topic for conversation so that we see how can we help these young people and everyone else, not only young people, as we are saying. A society must be blended with the old, the young, whoever. Maybe the Gen Zs are talking, but even the old, maybe you could be having the same problem, but because of their age and experience and how they maneuver things, maybe they find solutions of some things. But these young people are saying, our businesses, our kiosks here are not working. So that could be a subject of conversation. I don't know what is in the agenda of this dialogue, but I think one of the issues is how can we make businesses work? Another thing is about education. I don't know, somewhere I read that about capitation in schools, about funding program, about loans in universities for university students, and it forms a kind of conversation. How can we help our students, the young ones? Because those are the Gen Zs, by the way. Most of them are in the university, they're in colleges, and they are the ones who are in the streets. How can we help them? That will minimize the bitterness and the hunger, and they are very, very, assertive in what they want to be done. And that can also form a conversation. Because again, without, bringing our minds together and see how we can help these people, then it becomes something amorphous. As they are saying, they are fearless, they are leaderless, they are troubleless. But actually, what they are saying is that listen to our, concerns. Simple as that. Not so much to be cabinet secretary there. Like you see now, those people are throwing chairs somewhere in the, I saw it in the media. They were fighting for, I think, for those positions. Because they are 7.
Yeah, you are playing the musical chairs.
And there are so many people. So they started throwing chairs. Because they don't want that position to go. So the alternative is to throw chairs. Now, instead of throwing chairs and fighting, why can't they sit down and see how they can help the young people? Because this is what they are saying. They are not interested in those positions, by the way, so much. They could be included, but their major concern, they are saying, they are fearless. They are tribalists. They are not interested with their tribes. That's what they are saying. I'm not saying for them. I'm not speaking for them, but that's what they are saying.
Yes.
That's what they are saying. They say they have no leader. That's what they are saying.
Right.
And they have been told, have a leader. It's good to have a leader. They say, we don't want a leader. So if somebody tells you, I don't want something, you can't force him or her. He has said it. So that's what they are saying. So what you are saying, Debara, is that people have found that politics, that's where I want to come, is the only avenue of getting wealth. And therefore, the throwing of chairs, fighting, and water. And I think it's high time now we have to reverse things. And the president has begun by, dismissing those cabinet and want to, appoint others. Let's be optimistic that this is going to work for us. But now when we become, this is window dressing, this one cannot work, then how are we going to solve our problems? Unless we agree as a country that if the cabinet has been dismissed, let them be reappointed, we give them the opportunity, and if they don't work, then people are there to judge them. They are now, not me, not you, all of us. We are there to see how they are performing. And I think that's what Kenyans are saying, not positions per se. Because they're only 14, the constitution says 14. But if if you bargain, you can have 15. And you continue bargaining up to 22, and they close. That's what the constitution says, 14 to 22. And we are 54 million. So now, 54 million minus 14. You can see how many millions are there. Almost 50 million. We can't fit there, all of us.
Thank you.
So one person should be there. So what you are saying is that let the business be improved. Let when children go to school, they get skills and education. They see how they are going to be useful in the economy and all that. So that not even everyone, even young and old, they want to fight for positions in the politics. If that is done, you'll find these things will go quiet, and even the leaders will have the time to work.
And you raise a good point. Why is there this quest for these particular positions, or maybe to be in politics? Is it the easiest panacea for you to become wealthy in this country? And I was just reflecting, and I want us to just orient our thoughts maybe towards corruption itself. And when you talk about corruption, it's neither here or there. It's amorphous, as we said. But we've had here also other public intellectuals saying that, if we don't fight the dragon of corruption, it will become a national security one time in this country. And we know there are confluence of factors that have brought us to bear where we are as a country right now. And critically, if you look, is a question of corruption that is now a national security issue. Because if you point out to health sector, you cannot miss out questions on corruption. If you point out to even agriculture itself, cases abound of issues of corruption. When you talk about the feeding program for the children, or even the hiring of teachers itself, or even in the military and the police, questions of corruption abound. The injustice that is happening when it comes to the public sector and the employment, the issues of nepotism, if that is not corruption, I don't know what it is. And all this now, they've been fomenting and, you know, burning subtly. And now, like a lava, you know, underneath there on the mountain, now it has spewed. This is the issue of corruption that this country has been grappling with. But we've been talking about corruption abstractly. But now we've been feeding the dragon now is firing back and is licking our country, is licking our children, is licking everything on its pathway. Where do we begin? Because even if we come and have new cabinet secretaries, we have a new template, we have new, you know, political branding, the software is still the same. And we're talking donkey years about corruption in this country with any discernible difference. Kipruto.
Yes, Diban, thank you so much for this opportunity. If we have to look at corruption, where does it start? It starts with our social orientation, such that when one of your own, for example, Professor Kindiki here is lucky to have had a brother who was CS in the cabinet up to the other day. And people will assume the vehicle he has been driving, he has to change because his brother happens to be a CS without using his own resources. And if after 5 years, because I suspect Professor Kindiki, the CS, might come back. After 5 years, they will not even talk about Kithure Kindiki. They'll be telling him, how come that your brother was a CS for 5 years and you never even changed your life? So what am I trying to amplify? Corruption is embedded in our society. It's embedded in the sense that everybody believes that if you are connected to somebody, you must change your life unless that person has either deliberately refused to assist you or is very uncaring, or you yourself, you have failed to apply in a way that you are able to tap into the national resources. The way I've looked at corruption and the national resources is that Kenyans are alienated from their own government. The way they were alienated before independence, they have never come to embrace that the government is the custodian of our resources. We still look at the government as an alien body, such that in our traditional society, let me use that, during the period of plenty, of harvest of millet or finger millet, we could look for a home of a respected old man, and we harvest in small amounts, and we keep in one of the stores that the young men are building that, akin to what we call the National Cereals and Produce Board. And during time of scarcity, that store could not be opened by that old man, even if he has problems himself, because he had his own separate store, because this was the store of the nation or the community of that particular time. They would look at vulnerable like old people, ladies who have just delivered, or any other family that is seen to be very poor to the extent that they need to be assisted, others will be exterminated by famine. In our context, we don't look at government that way, that the store, whether it's National Cereals and Produce Board or any other store, even Kenya Revenue Authority, we look at it as a store that if you are intelligent, you will be able to appropriate what belongs to that store and take it into your own use, and you'll be respected because you know how to look for wealth. That is the danger that we have. Now, when you scale it, even if, let's say, you took angels to the cabinet, I'm telling you, some of these bad manners will come into our society. So we may need to go to the foundations, and that is where the national conversation should stem. And we fight what Nyerere fought in 1961, because 6 weeks after he became prime minister, he resigned and allowed Rashid Kawawa to take over the country for 1 year. He himself went throughout the country, reminding them that this is independence, but this is independence that has given us a privilege to serve, and we fight for things: ufisadi, udini, ukabila, na ubabe, which in this chapter 6, many of these GNCs, they were fighting ministers because of ubabe. Some of them we never heard of ufisadi, but some of them were suspected. But ubabe was the main thing, where if you are in a position of privilege, you think you are the most important person from your village. I remember some of the ministers, people were sending the congratulatory messages to the president that thank you, Mr. President, for bringing back so-and-so to the village, which means they had felt that you are already alienated from the village and you are eating alone at the top. So after that, Dibal, I believe that we need to assist to have a youth agenda. And in that youth agenda, the director or the person holding that particular agenda should be very vigilant when people are being recruited to various cadres, whether it is education, military or so. Selling of jobs, because there is a 30% which is supposed to be dedicated to the youth and the vulnerable. But today, asking every government department, how many of the contracts or tenders were given to the youth for the last 10 years since that particular law came into place, or the last 12 years. That will be very important so that opportunities are not sold, jobs are not sold. And finally, is effective communication from the government of the day. And if there is constant communication internally, because you could see some of them, they were fighting. You find one minister issuing something on sports, and is not even minister close to sports. Another minister is issuing something on agriculture, and is not in charge of agriculture. Then the final thing is to externalize their communication. You know, you can do so much. Like Kibaki almost lost the re-election, not because he had done nothing, but we had poor communication strategy. We never communicated what we were doing to the public. It is much later that people are saying Kibaki did 1, Kibaki did 2. So I feel this is the little we can discuss and recommend.
Thank you.
If we don't fight corruption from the village, corruption will be with us for many years to come.
Yeah, corruption from our households. Keep it brief, because also we need just to get our headline thoughts as well. So keep it brief so that we can take points from also Barak and...
To respond to your issue that you have raised.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
No.
It's
No. I'm just saying. Continue.
Okay. To address the issue of corruption, we need to look at it boldly. There are a number of things that we need to deal with as a nation. First, I believe that Kenyans, we must learn to treat each other kindly. We lack that. Debal, when you invite me here, I engage my mind at best to try and see what value I'm going to bring here. Because I'm going to meet a person like Muluka, whom I respect so much. Whenever I come to him, I want to listen more because I want to learn. I have my professor here because I learned from him. My in-law, who has got wealth. So treating each other kindly is very important.
A wealth of experience.
And a wealth of experience. But beyond that, and to me, he has a Gen Z heart in the way that he operates and things. Okay. Yeah. But more importantly, what are the issues that we need to deal with? One is economic reforms of our country. What is the strategy that we are going to have that is going to lead in technological advancement, that is going to advance manufacturing, that is going to ensure that we have creative industries? Because the youth need a lot, and they know that in the industry of creative, there is a lot of money that can be made. How do we diversify our economy to accommodate these things? And within the same is about the fiscal responsibility. how are we going to advance ourselves in a manner that we are going to see proper management of public debt that is open and everyone understands, even before we deal with anything else? How are we going to make that change that is going to make people appreciate what we are doing? Then we will then go to the issue of anti-corruption. What are the measures that we are going to take? One could be strengthening institutions. Every member of a board in the government of Kenya, one of the first things that they are taken through is the Uongozi. Go through this. This is the stability. This is the vision. This is what Kenya needs to do. But that is done. Yeah, it's done. But
it's
what
done.
Are we doing in all those things
to
be able? Yes, but you see now that actualization, public accountability. How are we going to deal with that? Inclusive development is the other thing, so that the people who are in the rural are not feeling that they have been left out in some of these things in managing the country. And I believe youth engagement, what Waziri has talked about here, about youth engagement and what we need to get them on, that equitable resource mobilization. But as I finish, 3 things. One, the economic management. What is the mistake that we have been making? It is over-reliance on external borrowing. Can we deal with that and have a long-term planning that is going to change our country? On the issues of corruption, what mistakes have we been making? It is the sustained efforts. We start one day, we fire one guy, the 8 guys go unchecked, and we think that things are going to happen in a better way. Be firm and take everybody who is having an issue to court, and they are taken away from public in management. And finally, the issue of unequitable development. How do we manage everything so that the people who are in the rural area don't feel children of a lesser God? That the equation of all this, because mismanagement even at the county level is as bad as here. Even as we are talking about firing or what was the word? Dismissing cabinet, it should be a wake-up call to the county governors. What they are being told is that fire all those people because we have no confidence. And it is a political move that gives you the impetus to get the country running in a better way.
Thank you. Barak, your sentiments, and of course also
thank you once again. And I'm conscious of the fact that people are afraid of history, because history comes with memory. Memory tells us where we have come from and why we are therefore here. We want to go ahead without remembering where we have come from, without recognizing that ahead may actually be where we have come from, because we are afraid of history. And I'll keep on going back to the dark state that I have talked about. When you look at dystopias in world history, they all have these dark states. You can talk about people like Speer, like Bormann, people like Goebbels around Adolf Hitler. You can talk about Malia Mungu and Bob Bassos around Idi Amin. You can talk about the entity that was called Akazu in Rwanda under Habyarimana and many others. You must start by addressing that entity. And that entity represents something called greed. It's this greed that drives that which we call corruption. Because people don't just engage in corrupt practices. They engage in corrupt practices because underneath and behind it is greed, which has been categorized in Christendom as one of the worst offenses and sins against the world. So history helps us to address some of these categorical imperatives, without which addressing you cannot go where you want to go. You are going to keep on employing and applying a last of last on cancerous conditions that require something far, far deeper. So when we look at, therefore, where we have come from and what history tells us that when Mwalimu Nyerere was institutionalizing responsibility and accountability in Tanzania, in Kenya, President Jomo Kenyatta was telling us that he had brought down an elephant. Those who are of age now that Kirwa is almost my age mate, he may want to remember that President Jomo Kenyatta used to tell us, nimeangusha ndovu na kila mtu atafute na anoe kisu chake na ajikatie. Na yule ambaye hawezi kukata should not blame me. When some of the people who had been with him in the trenches, like Kagia, like Kungu Karumba, raised issues of greed and corruption, Kenyatta told them, President Jomo Kenyatta, he told them, what have you done for yourself, Kagia? Look at me. Look at Paul Ngei. Look at yourself. What have you done for yourself? So there's that institutionalization of greed by the dark state, and the dark state must be addressed, and the Gen Z generation, which is a generation of ideas, must maintain eternal vigilance against the dark state.
Fantastic. All right, our closing remarks, let's begin with you.
I have closed.
You've closed, fantastic. Right, a one-liner from you.
Closing remarks?
Yes.
All right. I think corruption indeed is a disease in this country, and we must accept. And once we have accepted, we see how now to address corruption. Because actually many forums have been created to discuss corruption, but we have not initiated the process of ending corruption.
All right. Kipruto?
Well, the president dismissed the previous cabinet under section 152, subsection 6. Did not dismiss under section 152, subsection 6. Had he done it under that subsection 6, the ministers who are now outside will not have qualified to come back.
Right, thank you. Right, let's hear from Dr. Green.
God trusts us. If we trust him, we will be trusted by people. The biggest deficit that we have in our country is trust.
Yeah.
So much so that if we say that bodies have been found in a certain place and we realize that it was nothing to do with the police, then we are now looking for where the other bodies are, because that is only one place that has been found.
Thank you.
Is it in the rivers? So
Thank you.
God trusts us, let's trust him, and therefore trust will follow.
Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate your sentiments as well, and we hope as we in this transitioning period as a country, that your sentiments also will come to bear and they're listened to as well. Thank you very much for your valued company. You've been watching Uongozi today here on Morning Prime, and we'll leave you with this particular dedication.